Hello and welcome to Self-Advocacy Basics presented by the Colorado Mental Wellness Network. First, I want to introduce who we are as an organization. The network is a grassroots organization that supports adults on their journey to whole health and mental wellness. Through education and advocacy, the network provides opportunities for individuals to improve the quality of their lives, give back to their community, and change perceptions of mental health. Our organization's effectiveness stems from our ability to empower individuals to use their new skills, not only to help themselves, but to support their peers. We call this passing it on. Our mission statement is to provide opportunities for individuals to improve the quality of their lives, give back to the community through meaningful roles, and to change societal perceptions of mental health through education and advocacy. We exist to support individuals who are in recovery from mental health conditions and substance use disorders, who we call peers. We equip them with tools to support their recovery and with opportunities for advocacy and empowerment. All of this comes together in our motto: be well, have hope, pass it on. We help individuals be well by providing them with wellness tools and resources, have hope by inviting them into a supportive community of peers, and pass it on by training them to be the next generation of wellness leaders and advocates. This presentation and the ones to follow will help you pass it on by equipping you with the tools to become an advocate yourself. So let's go over what advocacy is. Advocacy is the public support or recommendation of a particular cause or policy. Here at the network, we advocate for evidence-based treatment and equal opportunities for individuals with mental health conditions and substance use disorders. Advocacy is needed so that people are able to understand what you are standing up for and hopefully agree and take your side. There are different types of advocacy as well. There's self-advocacy, peer-to-peer or individual advocacy, systems advocacy, and legal advocacy. This presentation is going to be all about self-advocacy. Self-advocacy is composed of a few different elements. It is representing and advancing your own interests. An example of this might be asking for a certain kind of medication because that is what you want. It is knowing yourself, knowing what you need, and knowing how to get it. An example of this might be knowing that the best kind of therapy for you is cognitive behavioral therapy, and knowing where to get that therapy. It is the ability to understand and effectively communicate your needs to other individuals. Communication is key, and unless you can articulate what it is that you want and need, no one will ever know. Let's briefly cover the other kinds of advocacy before we get back into self-advocacy. Peer-to-peer or individual advocacy is representing the rights and interests of someone other than yourself. For example, a peer support specialist might advocate for a peer who is having trouble articulating their needs to their treatment providers. Systems advocacy is influencing social, political, and economic systems to bring about change for groups of people. The civil rights movement in the United States was an example of systems advocacy, and it brought about legal equality for people of color. Legal advocacy is the use of attorneys and the legal or administrative systems to establish or protect legal rights. For example, an advocate might work with someone's attorney to protect their right to treatment in the least restrictive setting possible. When it comes to advocacy, the network tackles it all. The way we do that is by teaching others to advocate for themselves and the peer community at large. We teach others the power of sharing their story as a way to break down stigma and promote understanding towards people with mental health conditions. Stories are so effective because they are memorable. Statistics and facts can be helpful, but stories will stick in people's minds for much longer. Stories lend their tellers credibility and authority on an issue. When someone is able to say, "I experienced that," they tend to know more than someone who's only able to say, "I read about that." Stories help people who don't have experience with the mental health care system to understand and empathize with the problems we see in the system. Finally, our stories can help break down stigma about mental illness by breaking down barriers of ignorance, prejudice, and discrimination while promoting education, awareness, and action. Now back to self-advocacy. A great way to self-advocate is to create an action plan. The first step in creating an action plan is to define the problem. This might include doing some research into the laws around your issue. For example, you might feel very strongly that informed consent surrounding inpatient mental health care is inadequate. Defining exactly what the problem is involves identifying what the law says about informed consent in these settings. The next step is to develop an action plan that describes what exactly you are going to do about the issue. Try making action steps that are SMART, which stands for specific, measurable, actionable, relevant, and timely. First, the steps are specific instead of vague. For example, I'm going to research what the Murphy Bill says about HIPAA, instead of, I'm going to find out what's going on in mental health policy. Second, the steps are measurable. For example, I'm going to volunteer 3 hours per week at the Colorado Mental Wellness Network, instead of, I'm going to volunteer more. Third, the steps are actionable, which means that you can do them. For example, I'm going to write a letter to the governor asking him to veto XYZ bill, instead of, I'm going to change mental health care once and for all. Fourth, the steps are relevant, meaning that they are things that will help you with your overall mission. For example, I will write an article about how Denver needs peer support specialists in emergency rooms and submit it to 5280 magazine, instead of, I will write a blog post about why I hate emergency rooms. Finally, the steps are timely, meaning that they are on a schedule. For example, I will speak at 3 legislative sessions this year, instead of, I'm going to speak at legislative sessions a lot more from now on. The third step is to carry out your action plan. It's important to speak with organizations that handle that type of issue so you can increase your effectiveness. Partnerships are powerful in advocacy, and it's important to team up with great partners. After this step, it's important to remember that you will have to negotiate with the people that have power over you and your issue. No one who has power wants to just give it up because someone asked them to. You will have to negotiate and help them understand the benefits they will experience by doing something for you. Here are some tips when it comes to following through on your action plan. First, timing is important when developing your action plan. It's understandable to feel scared about speaking up when there's an opportunity, but that opportunity won't be there forever. Take it while you can. That said, don't approach the situation if you're too angry or upset. Sticking to the issues and avoiding personal attacks are incredibly important to advocating effectively and with dignity, and it's hard to do that when emotions are high. It's okay to tell others how you feel, but it's not okay to show them how you feel through personal attacks, yelling, or acting aggressively. Document all of your advocacy efforts so that you can keep track of who you've spoken to, what agreements have been made, and where you need to go next. This will also help you evaluate how you did in your advocacy efforts. Review what you did, how you did it, and whether or not you got what you wanted. You can look back and see what helps you be successful in the future. The most important thing to remember is to never give up. It's okay if your first, second, third, or 18th attempt to change something doesn't work out. It's okay to stop your plan and try other strategies if you need to. The important thing is to keep trying until you're satisfied with the result. Finally, here are some resources that you can use to get going in the right direction. Once again, this was Self-Advocacy Basics by the Colorado Mental Wellness Network. Thank you so much for joining me, and remember, never give up.